Welcome back everyone to another NRG on the Super Nintendo again. I'm going to start my series of a few series of NRGs on hack and slashes, and here we are with Knights of the Round from Capcom. This was released in 1994 on the Super Nintendo. It is a port of the arcade original which came out in 1991 on the CPS-1 hardware. And yes, it's a pretty decent arcade conversion of a game which is pretty. It's got a nice style to it. The original arcade, nice style to it, nice soundtrack, pretty graphics, but gameplay-wise, pretty monotonous. This is in the ilk of the Rastands, even though that's more of a platformer as well. Certainly in the Golden Axe sort of sphere of things, definitely. So Golden Axe fans will kind of love this kind of stuff. You know, it's a beat 'em up, slash 'em up kind of thing, as you can see, and it's not bad. It's quite fun for a bit of a blast, and the Super Nintendo version is not bad at all. If you played the original arcade, you will discover there's a lot more attention to detail. Of course, in that version, the Super Nintendo, much like the home arcade ports of the likes of Street Fighter 2 and Final Fight to a lesser degree, even though that was cut down even more, is the usual Capcom affair when it comes to getting all the components of the arcade in, getting all the vital stuff in, getting lots of lovely voice sound bites here in this as well, taken from the arcade as well, that work really well using the Super Nintendo's sound capabilities. But of course, it's got that sort of flat, dull sound to the music, which obviously is very prominent in Street Fighter 2, much certainly. But it's still quite nice. It's still quite good tunes, and they're faithfully rendered from the original, as are the boss characters. I think the laugh on Scorn is a bit weird. She has a little very, very girly, mocking laugh in the arcade, and in this it's more of a cackle more than anything else. So yeah, essentially they've put all the components in, much like Final Fight, as I previously mentioned, and just stripped away. Basically, lots of attention to detail. The sound's a little bit lacking here and there, and there's a sprite limit, of course. In the arcade, you can get absolutely covered in sprites. I think there could be over 10 sprites on screen at any one point, characters that way. And Super Nintendo, I think it gets up to 5. I haven't done a count, but I know it's less than the arcade. Transition screen is a little bit different there as well. Lots of the backgrounds have sort of disappeared down the transitions as well, but the music's all there. I say it certainly does look the part. The frame rate on the sprites is also down on the original arcade too. So you can really notice that when you're sort of hacking and slashing along and things like that. But you've still got all the moves. You've got the block maneuver, you've got your special swipe, you've got the get out of jail free card, the sort of like the special move where you hold 2 buttons down, again uses a bit of energy to sort of get you out of trouble. And there's a few sprites on screen here. We've got 3 so far. I wonder if we get more than 3 at any one, but I'm going to try and count as I go along. These guys, the masked men, are absolutely annoying as hell. I've actually got Infinite Lives switched on for this review, namely because I find the Super Nintendo 1 version a little bit harder than the arcade. It's certainly more frustrating to move around. Sometimes the collision detection can be a little off. I do say sometimes, it's not all the time. So that's so to get through to sort of like stage 3 to show you the comparisons. I don't want to die too early. So here we go. Right, I've got 4 on screen at the moment now. You get the horses as well, but you also get the horses at different sections. So I think in this they're missing a horse at one point, a steed. And they're certainly they're quicker to sort of flash and disappear as well, the enemies are. But all the mechanics are actually pretty much identical, to be fair. I'd say the only real problem with Knights of the Round is it's just too monotonous. It's quite dull. It doesn't have that kind of magic that the likes of Streets of Rage and even Final Fight in its heyday in the arcade have. It's got more of a plodding along, another slash, another slash, another slash. You know, there's lack of a sort of a strategy, really. I mean, there obviously is a strategy. You know, don't get hit a lot. But it's not so prominent, and it's more of a sort of like, I got whacked in the back of the head there. That would have slightly smarted the old eardrums. Swordman, let's destroy you. I think you get a... Oh, I've got a level up there. I think you get a horse around this point. You certainly get that after before. Let's see if we can smash this. Have I got to jump onto it? Yeah, I have. There's normally 2 birds there on the arcade, not just one. This guy's the same. And get through to the 2nd level boss, who's annoyingly... Oh, he's so annoying in the arcade version, and very annoying in this as well. So yeah, it's just the monotony of it all, really. So pretty graphics, nice sound, faithfully done on the Super Nintendo. Like I say, they've limited things down a bit, but I tell you what, it's like I say, it's less noticeable when you look at other arcade conversions, such as Street Fighter 2, where initially you turn it on and think, oh my god, it's the arcade at home, and you could do that with this as well. But once you get off playing the arcade version and then play this version, and the same goes for the likes of Street Fighter, all them Capcom sort of ports, even Ghosts and Goblins to a lesser degree, you got to really give that a bit of a pass because it's more of a unique game on the Super Nintendo. So it's kind of more of a pass. But here we go. So that was quite quick there, quick transition to the boss. So definitely less enemies leading up to the 2nd level boss there. Far less enemies, in fact. I remember at one point you get a shroud of enemies come at you with a necromancer and a couple of swordmen and a few of the other big guys. And you didn't get that on the way here. So that was the level was actually quite shortened in quite a lot of respects, which is a shame. But to get everything in, to cram it all in, to have that sort of lovely background there, I must admit, really nice. Yeah, if you like hack and slashers, then Knights of the Round is a decent sort of little fun foray to have a go at. And Super Nintendo version is pretty decent. It's not a bad version at all, and you would have been happy with it back in the day. I mean, back in the day, I never really even knew of the arcade. I never saw it around in the arcades. I never saw it at the local corner shop or anything like that, especially when the CPS1 software was really doing the rounds with all those classics that I've already mentioned. I never saw this. Can't recall ever seeing it ever at any arcade I ever went to. So I only discovered it sort of after that in the sort of realm of MAME, and then discovered, oh, I do remember something on the Super Nintendo, but I never played it. I'd seen the title. I remembered it because I've actually been to Tintagel, which is where the lore of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table actually stems from. Tintagel, which is on the North Cornwall coast, where the real castle is. Well, the mythological real castle is. So it's kind of an interesting sort of place to go to talk about the old, the lore of King Arthur and Lancelot. You can play as Arthur, Lancelot and Sir Percival in this as well, with all different strengths and weaknesses. Arthur is more of the rounded character, strength and speed. Lancelot has got all the speed, of course, you'd imagine, but lacking a little bit of power. Certainly more graceful though. And Percival has all the power and not the speed. So you'd have a good choice of characters, and you've got a 2-player mode as well, which is good to see. I always hate it when they cut 2-player modes out of these kind of games. Kind of takes it a bit of the fun away from you. And I imagine playing this with a few friends would be. So there you go. There was 6 sprites on screen there at one point, so that was not too bad. Not too bad. So there you go. Knights of the Round on the Super Nintendo. So released in 1994, 3 years after the original arcade. Thanks for watching. Nogabug out.